Hey guys, you imagine it's around 1983 and you're the hot guy at the office right now because you've just got yourself a new IBM personal computer, and you also got the boss to spend up large and get you a couple of these sexy tandem floppy disk drives. You're feeling pretty damn good about yourself. Until about a month later, and then Gary rolls up and he's got himself an XT and it's got one of these new fancy pants fixed disk drives. And you really want to get a piece of that action, but you've got no way to shove it in your machine. So what are you going to do? Are you just going to trash your PC and get an XT like Gary? Oh hell no, we need to one-up Gary. And today, I want to take a look at IBM's 5161 expansion unit. So, first of all, let's just have a quick chat about why the expansion unit was needed at all. I mean, PCs are generally, especially desktop PCs, are considered to be very expandable computers. Now, unfortunately, the original IBM PC only came with 5 expansion slots, and 2 of those would have been used by base configuration, because you need one for the display controller, one for the floppy controller, and any user that was going to be installing a hard drive in a PC probably would have added a RAM expansion and maybe a couple of ports or even a network as well, so chances are all 5 slots were already occupied. So you weren't going to be installing a hard drive controller card anytime soon. Now the next thing was they probably spent a decent amount of money on their 2 beautiful tandem floppy disk drives, and they're unlikely to want to throw those out just yet. And the final nail in the coffin was IBM's power supply, at least officially, was not rated for spinning rust. So you were going to need a new power supply, more drive bays, and more expansion slots, and that's exactly where the expansion unit comes in. It uses the same case as IBM's 5160 XT, giving you 8 slots and 2 more full-size drive bays, as well as another power supply. Now once you take into consideration the extender and receiver cards that are required for making this magic happen, that leaves you with 11 usable ISA slots, which is a massive upgrade from the 5 that was originally in the PC. And you've also got 4 full expansion bays and that backup power supply, so you can run whatever you like. Now these units were usually sold with 1 or 2 10 megabyte hard drives pre-installed, so it was essentially an IBM PC hard drive upgrade kit, although I am sure a lot of these expansion units got used for other purposes, because one of the fun facts about this is that it also works in the IBM PC XT and it works in the IBM Portable. Now what's awesome about it being used on the Portable is that it's essentially probably one of the first laptop docking stations ever, because you could take your Portable out in floppy mode and use it, then bring it back to the office and plug it into your expansion unit and have all your network and hard drive stuff, and I think that's actually pretty awesome. So the way that these systems hook up together is through a 68-pin cable. Now this uses 3 rows of pins, it's very easily identifiable, and thankfully you can actually still have these manufactured for you and delivered within a week to your address, assuming you're in the US. Other countries can get it, just takes a little bit longer for the shipping. And that's a real lifesaver. So if you find that expansion unit on eBay and the cable's missing, don't stress, you can just order one. The expansion cards, however, are a little bit different. For the system to work, you do need the receiver and extender cards. Now, the receiver is very easily found. It's almost always inside an expansion unit. So if you're bidding on an expansion unit and you see a photo, it's very easy to identify that plug at the back. Chances are that's your receiver card and you'll be good to go. However, the extender card, which is the one that goes inside the host PC, often gets separated from the expansion unit. It gets left in someone's XT, they don't know what it does, they throw it out. End result is the already rare expansion unit needs the even rarer extender card. So if you're bidding on one of these and it doesn't have the extender card with it, I would not bid very much money, because your chances of finding one afterwards are very slim, and quite often that card could be worth more than the expansion unit itself. What I'm really hoping to see is a community project in the future, and there's some people talking about it, but there's not quite enough interest to spark it off just yet, and that was the idea of building aftermarket cards, because we have the schematics from IBM. I'm fairly sure they don't care if someone made their own version of the card, or even an improved version. But I think that would be brilliant, and that would also allow people without expansion units just to use generic PC cases to extend some of their IBM PC gear, and maybe even some of the Taiwan clones. I think that could be a really cool project for someone, so if I see something like that, I'll definitely let you guys know. So once you add all that 7.4 series logic right in the middle of the ISA bus, obviously there's a bit of a delay there, and once you add that delay to the speed of RAM and memory found on common expansion cards from that time, you do run into timing issues. The CPU will basically ask for information before it's ready because the RAM hasn't quite had enough time yet to actually get the data out. So IBM's solution to this was, if you are running RAM or ROM in your expansion unit, which you most certainly are if you're using it as a hard drive setup, you could initialize wait states. And what a wait state is it basically tells the CPU just to wait one more cycle before trying to actually read anything from memory, giving it a chance to catch up. And this works great, but I mean, obviously with that is a speed penalty. So what IBM did was, rather than just wait stating everything, is they did provide some switches on your extender card that allows you to configure basically what I call the slow mode. And you can set where the wait states are going to be applied. Now, the only problem with this is that you can't specify a range. You can only specify the start point. So for 99% of cases, this probably isn't an issue, but there are two scenarios where I think it would be fairly important. If you're using an expanded memory board, whether it's in the system unit or the expansion unit, and you're using the expansion unit as your hard drive setup, so your wait states are starting at least the C range, then your expanded memory board is going to feel that slowdown, because an EMS board, you're most likely going to have that in the D range, give it a whole page frame in the D range, and that's above where the hard drive controller is, so that's going to be wait stated. The other thing is if you put conventional memory up in your expansion unit, you're going to have to lower the wait state start point, which means it's probably also going to affect your CGA video memory, and it's going to affect your conventional memory now as well, because you've had to lower that point so far. Now perhaps that's really technical, but basically, just to simplify it, all your conventional memory, keep it in the IBM PC. Don't put it up here, and if you're going to add an EMS board in the future, just know it may be just a little bit slower than it should be. Alright, so let's have a look at what I decided to do with my unit. Now, of course, the IBM PC that I started with, this is what I call a piece, and for me that means that it's a snapshot in time, and it's a look at how a particular business might have actually used the system in 1983. So I had left it alone as a 256K system running IBM MDA, just monochrome text, and for me that was actually pretty awesome. Unfortunately, I've completely ruined that now, so I really need to find myself another IBM PC that I can just leave alone as a unmolested PC. But this is the expanded version, and if we're going to chuck an expansion unit on our system, then I'm going to throw all the guns at it. We had to go straight to 640k RAM, and I needed a graphics adapter in there. Now I was still trying to keep it original, but I did manage to find an IBM CGA adapter, new old stock off eBay. It's absolutely fantastic. This is the second one of these that I've purchased, and both cards have worked flawlessly out of the box, which to some people may not be surprising because it's brand new electronics, but this is 30-year-old brand new electronics, and the probability of these things failing is a little bit higher than usual. I was very impressed to find out that was not the case. So with that brand new CGA card in there, now of course we can run all of our favorite demos like 88, MPH and all that sort of stuff. The next thing was the RAM. So 256k for a disk-only machine is absolutely fine. An IBM PC. Disk-only machine, if you run out of memory, you're probably using the wrong system, is how I go about that. However, we're running a hard drive system now, probably going to end up running software from the late 80s, so we had to move that to 640k. And to do that, I chose the AST 6-Pack Plus, which is a very common card for this purpose. You'll find it in a lot of XTs, even clones. It gives you the 384k of RAM, a serial port, parallel port, a real-time clock, a joystick. There's lots of little options that come with that, and I think they originally come bundled with a whole bunch of software like for print spooling and all that sort of stuff, although I don't bother with that so much. Real-time clock obviously very handy on an IBM PC, and the 384k of RAM is what we really wanted out of it. Now, the parallel and joystick options I unfortunately couldn't use because I ran out of expansion slots in the system unit, which is something that I should mention here. In your system unit, keep all your conventional memory and your primary graphics adapter down there, because it'll allow you to use the system without the expansion unit being turned on, which is actually what's going on here right now. We're actually running the IBM PC in disk-only mode, and if I hit Control-Alt-Delete and lift the floppy disks up, it will go straight into cassette basic. When I say straight, I mean when it gets around to it. Come on. Yeah, there we go. Okay. IBM Personal Computer Basic. So this is the IBM PC running perfectly fine without the expansion unit on. As you might have noticed, there was an 1801 error, but who cares? It wasn't really an issue. So it's nice having that configuration down there, and having all your conventional memory down there. You're not dealing with wait state stuff, so that's absolutely ace. Okay, so now if we decide we want to run our IBM PC in basically XT mode with our nice hard drive setup, all we would do now is just switch off the system unit, and we can power up the expansion unit first, and then quickly move on to the IBM PC. As long as you do them in that order, you're good to go. There's no timing issues. I've turned them on at the same time and had no problems. But you can't have the IBM PC running first. And that hard drive LED is coming up from the Seagate hard drive controller that we have installed inside this machine. Also, you can't quite see it, but I have hidden a Seagate ST225 behind this backing plate. And I specifically, even though I have more interesting options for that particular part of the unit, I'm intentionally keeping that backing plate there because they're fairly rare and hard to find, and I really needed a system where I could actually use it. So it is actually in there. If you do find these, make sure not to lose those little nuts that are used for securing itself in on the back, because they're pretty weird and you won't be able to find those at your local hardware store very easily. So this does take a while to start, of course, because you've got 640k of RAM. So it is going to take a little bit to boot up. There we go. There's our Seagate hard drive controller. It's going to boot off the 10 meg hard disk once it gives up on the floppy. And there we have it. There, and I'm going to just do a deal or something exciting like that. Got 8.5 megs free. It's not very exciting. Got a Space Quest on the drive. We've also got D drive, which is our ST225. And Hydro that are there. And it's got a few games there like Cal games and all that sort of stuff, so let's check out Cal games. Cal games always looks really good. Unless I change the configuration on it. I might have changed the configuration on it. Now I was using this for doing demos and stuff, so we've got a Sound Blaster card installed, which I'm not going to demo because it doesn't work right, because I've had a lot of issues with my expansion unit, so this may appear in a future video when I actually do more diagnostics on it. But with this particular system, I have been through 6 different power supplies. I've tested 8 different hard drive controllers in it before finally setting on the Seagate, which is the only hard drive controller that will work reliably on the system. I've replaced the caps on the planar board, and that's made absolutely no difference. I have reseated the cable probably 100 times, and that's made absolutely no difference. I have moved the cards between various slots, no difference. Tried adjusting the weight state ranges, no difference. And tried removing cards, adding cards, all that sort of stuff. There is something faulty with my unit. There just outright is, and I'm pretty sure it's either the extender or the receiver boards. It may be the cable, so I'm going to start by ordering a cable from a different supplier and trying that, and if that doesn't make a difference, then the only thing I can think of doing is replacing the logic ICs. But for the meantime, I have a system that is actually working, so I'm just going to enjoy it as it is. I'm a little bit burnt out on the project just because of how many hours I wasted just changing parts, trying to work out where this fault was. I'm just over it now. The machine's running great. It's been running great for about 2 weeks now, and as I've been putting this together, as you can see, I'm wearing different clothes from when I started the video. This is the second part, just a little bit later on, making sure the system still works. Now, of course, with these, the way you configure these systems, always keep your conventional memory and your graphics stuff down the bottom. Up here, all your optional stuff. So that's your hard drive controller, it's going to be your Sound Blaster. It should be your network card as well. In my case, I put the network down the bottom, but that's up to you. Yeah, and so, I mean, that pretty much covers it. I don't really know what else to show you guys. Ultimately, it's just a PC XT with extra slots at the end of the day. In the perfectly working unit, though, you could add some really awesome stuff in there. You could have a whole bunch of expanded memory. You could have various sound cards. You could have an XT CF card in your expansion unit too, or in your base unit. Because, I mean, you're talking XT IDEs. I mean, even if you had an XT IDE card, you run it as secondary. I mean, you could have a couple of the 2 gig or 20 gig IDE hard drives up here right next to an ST412. There's just a ton of awesome stuff you could pack into one of these systems. And I am really keen to actually give that a go, but at the same time, with all the problems I'm having with my machine, I'm just going to leave it as it is and just enjoy it. I think it is still pretty cool as it is. And I mean, when you think about like how amazing this is, we are running a game from a secondary hard drive inside an expansion unit, when all the communications are going through that cable out the back into our IBM PC. That's pretty cool. So at the end of the day, Gary can suck it. And thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye. That's pretty cool. You don't turn the expansion unit off before the IBM PC, otherwise stuff like that happens, which is pretty cool. It went yellow. See you guys.